Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Nightreign. Today we've got our next set of things you can know about this game, of course focused this time on Everdark Libra. Because there's a lot going on there, and there's mixed reactions to this one as well. But to be fair, it has some strange mechanics that are both really cool or horrible depending how you look at them. Either way, I think it's fair to say, is pretty crazy, and that's at least matching his vibe, which is important. Let's start with something that I think is really important to understand about this fight. Is that yeah, Madness is his like quote-unquote official weakness, and it's definitely relevant in the fight. But he's actually super weak to Holy. And it's funny because those are the two things he uses, right? Holy and Madness throughout the fight. But if you aren't finding either of those things, then Fire is still a great alternative. And generally, try to avoid magic because he's got a bit of resistance to that. Either way, this weapon, the Sacred Relic Sword, might just be the best legendary or weapon you could use in this fight, thanks to its Ash of War. As you can see, it's a massive holy arc that's both great for, say, rune farming back in Elden Ring, or just cleaning out not only the health of Libra himself, because yeah, weak to Holy, but the AoE of course, as he summons the extra adds. You can hit all three of them, knock them down even, do great damage, and hit Libra at the same time. That is unbelievable. If you try to find this, then I'd recommend you have the Shifting Earth for Noclatio, since you know there's a high chance to find legendaries there. Holy specific could be great there too, and very likely. Even if you find like a fire legendary or whatever, that's going to be relevant. But it also lets you dupe the weapon. So if you actually find this weapon or something useful, you can spread the Ash Spam potential between the team, which is what we did here. I was playing Wilder, so you know, perfect because ideal scaling set up for the weapon and its use. But others can use it too, and having 2 Ash of War spam instead of 1 is significantly more effective. In this case, we had Recluse holding it, who after all, can infinitely create FP to keep using it the whole fight. So for Wilder, we were feeding me Starlight Shards like I was a Revenant, just to have the FP to keep it up too. Now obviously, other AoE weapons with respectable damage are going to work. You could be Grafted Dragon, spamming that Ash as they spawn, AoEing around you, doing the Fire Whip with the Giant's Red Braid to be fair. But maybe a top pick for this concept would be Mogwyn's Sacred Spear, with its Nihil Ash of War taking a bit of time to get to that third part. You could start setting it up and build to that as they're spawning and getting up, and Libra is just standing there too, so it's unbelievable. Basically, managing the group as it spawns in with proper AoE makes an unbelievable difference, guys. Next up, of course, we have the Madness Boluses, which give you resistance to whatever status or ailment we're talking about. In the case of Madness 1, then you're going to make it so that you generate madness on yourself throughout the fight less, which is important. But, you know, you can stack them up. You can eat multiple and get greater resistance and become ultra madness resistant. And it's easy to say that and obvious to say that, and you might find some during Libra runs. But you know, there isn't really proper RNG or true procedural RNG in this game, as I've stated before. And when you're doing the hunt against Libra, you are going to get some consistent results, like the 2 Madness Towers, one on the north point, one on the south point, as denoted by this image. Here you're going to find some Madness Eyes, so you go there, kill the Madness enemies, and importantly, you're going to find lots of Madness Boluses in a guaranteed manner. So every run, you could make a point to at least end up at one of these towers, if not both, and make sure you and the team are particularly Madness resistant. Next, let's be aware that the summons themselves are actually Nightfarers based on what you're playing. So if you're playing Executor, you're going to have to deal with at least one of them. It's just going to mirror you, but not fully. While they do copy the skin you're wearing, they don't copy your kit. They have a small list of presets that they're going to run every single time. So basically, they have 3 options they might spawn in with, and depending on what they spawn in with, you might have an easy or nightmare time. Anyway, with Wilder, you can see that they can spawn in with a Mariah's Executioner Sword, or just some dingy fist weapons, or a bow or a great spear. Probably the Executioner Sword the worst there. For Guardian, you might see a mix of shield choices, but the worst one of the 3 is the double fingerprint shield, because it's going to build up madness on you every time he lands any attack on you, even if you block it, which is a big problem. For Eye, he can have this funny double cannon setup, which isn't that bad to be fair, unless you take their direct hit. All of Duchesses are going to be a problem, the Sword and Night and Flame, double Scarlet Rot Daggers, or its third option, which gives them the ability to parry magic in specific. So be careful against the Duchess summon if you're casting spells. If she uses that parry shield against your spell, you're going to get hard stunned, as we can see here. She'll destroy you with a critical. So in that case, maybe let someone else deal with Duchess if you're mainly spellcasting. For Raider, he does have an interesting situation where if he spawns in with the Godfrey Axe out of these 3 combinations, he can actually use the character skill. So do be careful if you're attacking him and he counters it. For Revenant, we do have the hilarious, as people call it, the creature setup with 2 giant weapons that aren't the best for her. So maybe that's the best one to have if she spawns in. Interestingly, while Recluse can spawn in with a couple nasty spells and setups, I seem to deal with her sending moons at me the most. Keep in mind that you can really stagger targets and interrupt them. An enemy like Recluse can be interrupted loads of times, preventing them from ever actually getting a spell cast off, which makes them a lot more manageable. Finally, Executor. The double fist weapons, or claws rather, means that he's got tiny range, which is not that bad. I'm more scared of, say, Melania's or Eleanor's Pole Blade for the Ash of Warspam potential. You get successive hit by that, trigger bleed, it's going to be bad. But yeah, that's how that works and what you got to look out for. Of course, there's also the RNG of the fight itself, where you have different deals that occur as we progress through the fight. RNG there means you might get a deal that's not that bad a bunch of times in a row, or you might get misery. So Summon the Condemned is just when he summons the NPCs in that mimic you and have their own presets. He does it roughly every minute. Shroud all allies means you can't see your teammates anymore, which is interesting, but it can also make the enemy summons invisible for a bit. False Blessing is when you can use flash charges whenever, great when you've completely run out, but obviously each time you do it, you lose a level. Definitely worth it in some cases. Inescapable Eye just means you have power of a demon, but then no boost benefits. Preaches Madness, it just makes all attacks cause madness buildup. So as you attack, you build madness. Technically meaning it can work on Libra. And I've seen some interesting clips where it's procced the madness after the players died and killed Libra, meaning it was actually a victory. So that's quite an interesting one. Obviously Insights of Riot just means extra NPC summons, but in that case they can and will attack each other and Libra, which is certainly handy. And Offers a Challenge is where everyone's health is cut in half. Next, let's mention the fact that the summons are based on the amount of players, which is quite strange. It means solo players are dealing with way less of a threat because every time he summons enemies, it's just one that comes in. Whereas in your duos, it's twice as much, but trios, it's triple. And then obviously if you get overwhelmed, the triple spawns, suddenly you got like 9 enemies. Based on that, people feel that trios is the hardest version of this fight, which is quite the interesting thing. But the concept here is actually worse than it might appear. It's the fact that these individual NPC summons actually have health based on whether you're in duos, trios, or solos. So if you're a solo player, you're dealing with significantly weaker individual summons than if you were in trios. And there's 3 times as much in that context. It's a ridiculous choice. It really should be the other way round. Like each individual summon should be stronger if you're in solos because you're dealing with less of them. But hey, this is the way they decided to do it. Trios is the hardest it would sim. However, solo can definitely backfire on you, especially if you're playing Guardian, as a PSA went out by this player talking about the fact that the summons are going to reflect you, and if it's the Guardians with the double fingerprint shields, they're going to be unbelievably tanky, and just blocking their attacks, it still builds up madness, which is ridiculous. Guardian already has a massive problem outputting damage. Soloing as Guardian is kind of slow. Then you've got to deal with a Guardian that's ultra tanky on top. It's a nightmare. So if your RNG is bad as a Guardian in solo, it's pretty much GG. So do be warned about soloing as Guardian for this one. Here's a clever trick you can use. What you can do for the entire fight is ignore the summons and instead just run really far away. Or maybe when you're dealing with too many summons you choose to do this. Either way, the point of this is that Libra will eventually target you and teleport to you as a normal move that he does during the fight anyway. So, since the arenas are massive, you can completely outrange the summons, and with their weird AI behavior, they might start walking around or lose your attention, whatever. So, you outrange the summons, Libra comes to you, and you focus Libra for the whole fight, completely ignoring the summons as an option. But again, the summons are very interruptible, they're humanoids, they're weak to various status. Any instance of damage to say Recluse, Revenant, or lower poise ones, fully interrupt them, preventing them from ever casting. But to really control the situation here, they're super vulnerable to invisibility. So yeah, you do have the Duchess AoE ult for your team for some free DPS time, but of course you've got the Caligo relic, Knight of Miasma, the one that gives you the Frostbite and Vicinity Concealed Self-line. That relic also gives you a starting weapon that gives you the Chilling Mist as a way to proc Frostbite. And so with that, you can basically farm the procs on summons. Any one of them that's new, or you've not frostbitten lately, just reset the invisibility on, they lose attention on you, and you can just focus on Libra completely. Or if you want, clean out the summons without them being able to really fight back. So, definitely a good idea. As another fun note, there's the Lifesteal Grab, Lifesteal Fist, which can hard CC these guys. You get iframes while you're doing it, and a recovery for your health whenever you need. really helps you control the fight and sustain through it. Obviously, there's a lot of RNG whether you find that Ash of War, but do know it's an option. Lastly for this video, I just want to mention the fact that patch 1.02 introduced a new way to fast sell relics that you don't care for when you're in the reward scene, as we've mentioned before. But another important feature here that I didn't mention is the reset option, which basically allows you to reset the rewards. So if you accidentally sold something you want to keep, like the wrong relic, you can press the reset button, bring everything back, and then make the choice again before you leave the screen. Just as a little buffer if you press the wrong button. People are calling out that, hey, maybe there should be like an extra screen where you're like, are you sure you want to sell this relic to avoid this? But for now, we at least have the reset button, so it's something. But yeah, there you have it. That is my Things You Didn't Know episode with the heavy focus on Everdark Libra. Hope that was useful, but if you guys have anything you'd like to add to the topics today or other tips in general, let us know in the comments. But for now, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.